Welcome back, Truth Seeker. In the headlines today, Joe Biden saying we shall respond. And this is regards into what happened this weekend with reportedly 3 U.S. troops being killed at Tower 322. And we'll see when he'll be ready for his response. Keep in mind, this is a Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Of course, Tuesday is named after Mars. Mars is the god of war. And interestingly enough, tomorrow, Tuesday, will be Joe Biden's 72nd day of his age. We know how relevant that number is to his life. His wife and daughter died in a car crash in 72. His son died when he was 72 years old. In Gematria, President Biden equals 72. So does Jesuit order. So does the phrase, we shall respond. They all equal 72. Again, if you're new here, Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. Learn this knowledge, see through the rituals and what these numbers mean and these dates. So I want to talk about what I decoded early this morning, and then I want to talk about what just happened on CNN maybe 45 minutes, an hour ago with Peter Bergen. If you don't know who Peter Bergen is, I'll remind you. He warned of World War III after the deaths of these 3 troops, again, at Tower 22. But I was pointing out how today is 114 days after the war began with Israel and Gaza on October 7th, again, the anniversary of the U.S. invading Afghanistan. And it matters that it's 114 days later because in Gematria, art of war equals 114, world war equals 114, history equals 114, or his story. President of the United States also equals 114. And if you're new here, Gematria is based on the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. I'm going to write out Jesuit order to make a point. Jesuit order has the Gematria of 144, like Jesuit Donald Trump posing with the first Jesuit Pope on the 144th day of the year at the Vatican back on May 24th, 2017, like Jesuit Georgetown simulating that Joe Biden would win the election exactly 144 days before the election in 2020. Not to mention President Biden's got the 144 and 72. Again, just like Jesuit order's got the 144 and 72. But notice Jesuit order has the 54. Today has 54 date numerology. So again, these ciphers are simple. It's the alphabetic order forwards. A is 1 up to Z is 26. It's the alphabetic order in reverse, meaning Z is 1 back to A is 26, and it's both orders with numerology. This is the system that's used every day. And again, just about 114. World War, 114. Think about Pearl Harbor, another 114. What got the U.S. involved in World War II. Art of War, the text that we know about because of the Jesuit priest, Father Amiot, who translated it. You see how Art of War is also 102? The American Civil War was blamed on Jesuits. It began on the 102nd day of the year. The attack by Al-Qaeda on September 11th was simulated by the U.S. federal government is Amalgam Virgo, June 1st, 2001, 102 days before 9/11 happened. The U.S. government simulated the Al-Qaeda attack. So again, forwards and backwards, these numbers matter. But again, history, 114. Israel's 75 years old right now. We've been talking about for years. Watch out when Israel turns 75. President of the United States, 114. So the president says, we shall respond. And by the way, we shall respond, 72, right? Just like President Biden's got the 72. President Trump, they're both Jesuit educated, 72. See how President Trump and President Biden are both 72 and 81? Biden supposedly beat Trump with 81 million votes. He's 81 years old right now. He's from Scranton, one of the nation's 27 Jesuit university towns on Interstate 81. But today also 129, right? 129, it's the beginning of a news week. It's a Monday. It sets up the storylines for the week when all these stories are rolling out by the numbers. 129. You know, in the NBA today, just to cross over, the NBA who's run by the same people that run your government, your news, the Jesuits. You have Jesuit-educated Doc Rivers, who went to Marquette, the Jesuit University in Milwaukee, coaching his first game with Milwaukee today on 129, 129 days before the NBA Finals begin. But anyhow, 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. 129 is 201. And as we know, the Jesuit orders 201. When Biden's son died while he was 72, he died 201 days before the Pope's birthday, the first Jesuit Pope and the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. When his wife and daughter died in 72, they died on Limestone Road, which is another 201. And again, the list goes on and on and on. Whole lot more to it. Remember, everything with Israel right now is 201. State of Israel's 201. Netanyahu left on the day, leaving 201 days left in the year, and then he came back on 12/29, which is the 201st prime. So again, just the Jesuit fingerprints all over everything. And the thing about tomorrow, Tuesday, again, Tuesday is named after Mars, the god of war. Tomorrow's going to have 75 date numerology. And here, just to go back to this New York Times article from October 6, 1940. Always got to bring this one up. October 6, 1940. We got to go back. Just got to see it with your own eyes. I want you to see from the New York Times website so you don't think I'm making things up. This is the New York Times website right here. October 6, 1940 was a date with 75 numerology. You got to keep in mind the New York Times has always been run by Jesuits. But this was a date with 75 numerology. It was 33 years to the day of the Yom Kippur War beginning. One day after the anniversary of that article is the day the war in Israel began, while Israel's 75 years old. But 10/6/1940, 10 plus 6 plus 19 plus 40, 75. Again, who pledged it to the Jews? New World Order pledged to Jews, right? Catholic Church equals 75. Roman Catholic, 75. New World Order, 75. The word order alone, 75. The motto, order out of chaos, 75. Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits. Of course, his name's 201, but it's also 75. The leader of the Jesuits right now, Arturo Sosa, is 75 years old. He turned that on November 12th. And Adam Weishaupt, the Jesuit who founded the Illuminati, also 75. So, again, this is why we had Israel turning 75 as a big deal and said to look out for a major war starting when Israel turns 75. And we called that the day that Netanyahu came back, not for the first time, but just again, Netanyahu came back on 12/29/2022. And again, go back and watch that video. We said there'll be a major war in Israel starting in 2023. It'll be around the time Yale turns 322 years old. Again, October 7th, the war begins. October 8th, Israel declares war. October 9th, Yale turns 322 years old. 322, important biblical number, the Holy Bible. 201, Genesis 3:22, the tree of life, the physical model for Kabbalah, knowing good and evil, 3 pillars, 22 paths in Kabbalah. This whole thing is the Kabbalah and Kabbalah. That's what we're teaching every day, that the Kabbalah uses the teachings of Kabbalah to control the world ritualistically on a calendar created by the Jesuit. When we're on the Catholic Church's calendar, again, you know, who's got it more out for Islam than the Catholic Church, crusades and all? I mean, just think about it. Skull and Bones member in office when 9/11 happened. He referred to the wars over there as crusades. Skull and Bones gets their symbolism from how the Templars bury their dead. The Templar cross in the middle of the Jesuit logo. Remember, the Jesuits are the modern military order of the Catholic Church. The Templars are the old military order. The Jesuits claim to operate in 112 countries. The killing of the 3 soldiers at Tower 22 came 112 days after the war began. 112 days. Catholicism 112, mathematics 112, Judaism 112, Zionist 112, Balfour Declaration on November 2nd. That was addressed to a Rothschild who died on the 201st day of his age. Been a lot of 201 rituals and deaths of Rothschilds for all you guys who think they run the world. Sorry, the people who run the world, they're names that you don't hear, like the Orsinis. Some people know who the Orsinis are, but not many. And there's other names in that Catholic connection. These are the real people who run the world. Rothschild, that means red shield. Who had red shields? Oh, that's right, the Templars, who served the Catholic Church. So, and remember, in that show they put out Nightfall, which begins with the Templars in France, where they're protecting the Jews. The last French pope was the 201st in the history of the church, Pope Francis, Mr. 201. His birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, is 201, like the Jesuit order. Again, first Jesuit pope to live in Suite 201. First Jesuit pope and the first to live in Suite 201. And let's not forget the World Cup, all synced up with the Pope. Last year, a little more than a year ago now, where they had Messi the Messiah staying in Suite 201 by himself from Argentina, the Pope's country. Hadn't won since 86, Argentina. And then they win it the day after the Pope's 86th birthday, when Jesuits, the plural's 86. Anyone tells you anybody else other than the Catholic Church is running the world, those people are lying to you. Does that mean that the you-know-who's, you know what I mean when I say you-know-who? What rhymes with who? You already know. We're talking about Israel. But anyone tells you that they're running the world and not the Catholic Church, that person's tripping. We're not on the Jewish calendar, okay? Catholic, 145. 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament. What day was Israel created? 14/5. Who was made the first prime minister of Israel? David Ben-Gurion, 145. How did he die? 201 days after the anniversary of Israel's establishment. So anyway, today's got the 201 connection. Joe Biden, who sacrificed his whole family in 201 rituals, talking big. We're going to respond. He's on his deathbed, about to send about a bunch of young people to death. And maybe he'll get to escape the responsibilities of his actions like the Roosevelt who supposedly died there at the end of World War. Isn't it interesting how the people responsible for the world wars all died at the end of it? Hitler supposedly committed suicide. Nobody found his body. Hitler modeled the Nazis after the Jesuits. Adolphus Hitler, if you look it up, is the name on his birth certificate. If you didn't know that, look it up. Adolphus Hitler, spelled just like that, 201. But most people know him as old Adolf Hitler, right? Which is 56 and 187. Like Society of Jesus is 56 and 187. So is Paris, France, where they were created. But what age did Hitler commit suicide at? And his body was never found. This is the story in his storybooks. That's right, 56 in April. Kind of like how Lincoln blamed the Civil War on the Jesuits, then was assassinated at age 56 in April. Also blamed for the war, got to die at the end of it. It's weird how the same patterns just persist all throughout history. The American Revolutionary War. What day did the American Revolutionary War begin? Oh, funny enough, on the anniversary of Ignatius of Loyola becoming the first superior general of the Jesuits. 109th day of the year. 109th day of the year. Here's the thing about 109 and 107. Military's 109 in reverse, military's 107 forwards. We go into Afghanistan on October 7th after 9/11. When 9/11 happened during the time of the 107th mayor of New York City, a Catholic, Giuliani, on the 107th day of his age. And again, April 19th, when the Revolutionary War began in history, that's the 109th day of the year. Now here's Israel popping off on 10/7. And again, that's the day leaving 85 days left in the year. Templars, 85. They had the Crusades. The Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator. Again, look up the Jesuit logo. IHS for Isus Hominum Salvator, which equals 85. The IHS right in front of the Templar cross. And, what is it? Crucify 85. Christ is 85. Again, the whole English language coded out. Catholic Church has crucified a lot more people than anyone could know to count. So anyway, this is what I was looking at this morning, right? So then CNN, again, probably about an hour ago right now, Peter Bergen goes on CNN. And if you don't know who Peter Bergen is, what's amazing to me is he now teaches at Arizona State University, and he teaches a terrorism class. I'm just like, oh my God, this is so bad. I used to go to Arizona State, but he wasn't there when I was there. But this guy has been like my mortal enemy since I was at Arizona State as a teenager. Again, I was in my freshman year when 9/11 happened. I was 18 in 2001. But this guy's been on TV the whole time talking about bin Laden and just nothing but propaganda. Anytime there was a new bin Laden tape out, Peter Bergen was the first to talk about it. He's one of these British guys that reminds you that we never got free from the UK. The United States is part of the United Kingdom, just like Australia is. They just had their nice 201 ritual with Sinner on National Bible Day, when in 201 days for his birthday, in the 56th Australian Open of the modern era, 112th all time. Again, Jesuits operate in 112 countries. Society of Jesus, 56th, their formal title, 201. Anyway, from sports to news, it's all being controlled by the same people, you guys. And what mockery with Sinner from Italy, as all these things are popping off. But what Peter Bergen just said on CNN is that we could be on the verge of World War III. And again, he says this. Not only does he say this 114 days after the war began, he says it 48 days after his own birthday. And we've been talking about how this NFL season seems to be synced with what's going on. I've been talking about this since October 7th when I went live that day. The Super Bowl is going to be the first ever Super Bowl on the 42nd day of the year, right? And again, Jerusalem has the 58-104 connection. This is Super Bowl 58. in the 104th NFL season, the season where they made Taylor Allison Swift the main storyline for the NFL season, where Taylor Allison Swift's 104 and Swift alone's 58, and on and on and on. And all year you've been looking at the Patrick Mahomes State Farm bundle ad where bundles 58 and 104, and he's trying to bundle back-to-back Super Bowls for the first time in 19 years, like Montana wore 19 for the Chiefs. And Montana's 67 years old right now, which is the 19th prime, and Kansas City's 67. And Kansas City Chiefs is also 64, and it's the team's 64th season. And Norma Hunt died on 6-4. And last night, her son was hosting the Lamar Trophy, named after his family member, at age 58, as the Ravens fell to 5-8 versus the Chiefs. And Andy Reid stayed on 58 losses, and he sacrificed his son a long time ago on the 5th day of the 8th month. And he's born in 58, and on and on and on. And we all told you in week 3 what the Chiefs did, with Andy Reid getting his 271st win, the 58th prime, picking up his 131st win with the Chiefs, winning by 41 points. And by the way, also that same week that Andy Reid did this was the post and what we went over in the news. Again, for people to say, well, you only post stuff on Patreon. No, that's not true. I gave you guys this for free. We covered this as a news story when this happened. The Steelers made their emergency landing in Kansas City after winning in Vegas, where the Super Bowl is. Pittsburgh, one of those 58 teams. But, I pointed out, the score was 41 points going to Kansas City. Now, just yesterday, Mahomes got his 41st career road win to advance to the Super Bowl when Super Bowl's 41, and so is Baltimore. Baltimore fell to 5-8 versus the Chiefs, and Baltimore's also got the 58 connection. But yeah, they even put out this story on 41 date numerology. So again, there's just a lot of people who are just hating and angry right now because they're like, you told me Baltimore was going to win this. It's like, all you guys must need to clean the wax out of yours, because all year I said the championship was going to be the AFC, Chiefs, and Ravens, which it was. And before we were even looking at the Ravens, we said the most straightforward Super Bowl narrative was the Chiefs to become 4-2 in Super Bowls on the 42nd day of the year, when every Super Bowl win by Mahomes has been about 42. And that's why I told people, you hedge your bets. Ticket for Chiefs, tickets for Ravens, you're covered. And you took that advice, you're a big winner. So anyway, and all throughout this entire playoffs, we've been saying Chiefs, 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 Chiefs. We haven't been talking about any other team in the AFC besides the Chiefs, 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 because they've had all the numbers. And again, it's all being scripted by the same people. Last year, Missouri was 201 years old, and they won the Super Bowl. Now Missouri's 202 years old, and they're going to face San Francisco, which equals 202. And Andy Reid's going to coach his 202nd game with Kansas City as he faces San Francisco. And you see how San Francisco is 122, the city on the 122nd meridian. Brock Purdy became 12-2 at home, winning yesterday. Kansas City's also 122. National Football League's also 122. Think about all the ritual sacrifice with the NFL and how evil it is. Satanic's 122. The NFL, or not the NFL, the Church of Satan, founded in San Francisco on the 122nd meridian, 122. What they just did the other day on January 22nd with the sacrifice of Martin Luther King Jr.'s son on the anniversary of Roe versus Wade, something that's mostly impacted Black Americans. Well, I shouldn't say mostly, but at a higher clip than anybody else by a long shot. Abortion 122. And that's because of the conditions forced on Black communities by this sick satanic cabal, purposefully destroying their communities with negative interventions, purposely flooding those communities with drugs, purposely keeping out employment opportunities out of those communities, purposely making schools worse in those communities, as they've done, especially in the 21st century with No Child Left Behind, where they punished failing schools. Again, if you haven't been paying attention to what they've been doing in the 21st century, in the poorest communities, they've been flooding those communities with immigrants, people who don't speak English. And then they immediately get put in the public school system. And if they don't pass the standardized test because they hardly speak a lick of English, then that school gets a failing score. Then they lose federal funding. And then what they do is put teachers, the worst performing teachers in the districts, they get moved to the failing school. So you get all of these things stacked against the poorest schools already that already have the most burdens. And then they fail even harder. And then they get shut down. And then next thing you know, in those school communities, what happens? They close the schools. That's the next step with No Child Left Behind. They shut down the school. So now the next school that's already just behind them on the failing chart, they have even more students in their school. So now the teacher before last year had to have 30-some kids in the classroom. Now this year they got 40-some in the classroom, and it's even harder. So anyway, these are all the things that have been going on in America that nobody seems to talk about or care about. I know about these things because I used to teach in South Seattle in a failing school, and yeah, I didn't want to talk about the principal who they had there. Just like it's like, how could this even be the principal? This is like one of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life. But anyway, and everybody knew it too. It was just like, why? Who made this person the principal? This person is like brain dead. But all of this is by design, you guys. What they want. They want a nation of serfs. They want a nation of poorly educated. That's why, I mean, think about it, you guys. I mean, one of the most poorly paid positions in all of the working adulthood, if you get a college degree, is a teacher. You know, you look at the jobs that pay the most. Of course, actors, because the world's a stage. But then there's a lot of careers where it's just like, I mean, it's like, what's the point of going to school and getting all of this debt to be a teacher when you can just go out of high school and become like a insurance agent, or do rewrite loans for mortgages. These things pay way more. I mean, you learn about these things like, why would I even go to school? That's if you center your life on money. You might go to school because you want to help improve children's lives, and then you get in the classroom and you find out you're not even really allowed to do that. You just need to teach from the curriculum and indoctrinate them. And to make here, I wanted to come back to the Super Bowl, right? Again, Super Bowl 58. Could it be the last Super Bowl ever? I mean, it's hard to imagine, but it's possible. That they've had to pause pro sports before for world wars. Could be a break. The word end is 58, right? But again, this emergency landing with the Steelers in Kansas City, we talked about this being a big clue and all the things going on with this year's Super Bowl, and realized this was just days before the war broke out in Israel. But just remember the Steelers, they were used in that scene in Batman, right? The Dark Knight Rises. They had the actual real Steelers team on the field as the stadium explodes, and only Hines Ward survives, number 86, reminding us of Hiroshima on August 6th. Not to mention Hines Ward finished his career with 86 touchdowns in the scripted NFL, playing at Heinz Field. But that in that same scene, they show the the suite number 322, right as the stadium's exploding. And again, Yale's 322 years old right now. Now we got rumors of World War III after 3 troops killed at Tower 22. All of this happening the conference championship weekend, right before the Super Bowl. And again, I still have trouble imagining that they would ever do anything at the Super Bowl. But what is interesting is the movie Black Sunday from 1977, which was the same year as the 58th NFL season. If you didn't know this, Black Sunday film, it came out in 1977. It's about a Palestinian terrorist organization attacking the Super Bowl. Think about that with what's going on. This movie won the Edgar Allan Poe Award. The war in Israel began on Edgar Allan Poe's 174th death anniversary. Remember that New World Order headline we just looked at? New World Order, 174. Baltimore Ravens are named after his poem, The Raven, which is also 174. And remember, the day after Edgar Allan Poe's 174th death anniversary, the Steelers, controlled by the Jesuit Rooney family, their coach, Mike Tomlin, got his 174th career win, beating the Ravens. And it's Ravenstall who's the kicker in that Batman scene where the Steelers are on the field. Ravens, big part of the narrative this year, losing in the AFC Championship to the Chiefs. But I just want you to see that the 58th NFL season, in light of Super Bowl 58, the 58th NFL season was the 1977 NFL season. That was the 58th season, right? The 58th. So now here we are with Super Bowl 58. What's going on in the world? 58's no slouch of a number, as we've talked about so many times. It does connect to Jerusalem, but of course, Freemasonry's 58, secret societies 58, Rosicrucians 58. They paid tribute to this on 9/11 with the 2 towers coming down, and then much later in the day, the Solomon Brothers building fell. And that was 33 years after construction began on the World Trade Center complex, and Masonry's 33 and an FF's 33, just like secrecy and federal city's the Masonic city, and police have the Masonic order, the Fraternal Order of Police, and on and on and on. But yeah, so I mean, there are some interesting things about how, and we've been about this the whole time, just how this NFL season looks very much connected. Hold on, let me rewind to that. Did that just say November 17th? Well, I got was the date November 17th? Let's not forget the Beirut barracks blast, and also Beirut blowing up on Barack's birthday, 201 days after Michelle's back in 2020, a leap year. What a joke. But I thought I just saw the date November 17th up here. Yeah, November 17th. Ah! Man, these people just always got to go to the same things, you guys. So November 17th has the double 187 connection, right? Society of Jesus is 187. I'll show you all the 187s with DC, but 1117, the number is the 187th prime number, and the prime factorization of 187 is 11 times 17. The Yellow Coat movement began on November 17th in Paris, France, the home of the Jesuits, but Society of Jesus 187, Paris, France 187, Washington, D.C. 187, George Washington 187, Holy Roman Empire, just think about the architecture in D.C., Holy Roman Empire 187, what is it? Ancient and accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, 187. Modern Freemasonry, Jesuit creation. The Scottish Rite was literally created by Jesuit priests. They wrote the rites for the Scottish Rite. And yeah, just 1117 and 187. And all the dead people in DC history in connection to 187, including George Washington himself. George Washington died unexpectedly on December 14th, which is 187. Tragic day. Just ask Sandy Hook. Ask about all the people who got the jab, which went live on that day, who aren't here anymore to talk about it. They got duped in by that mainstream media advertising. Even the words 1214, kind of like December 14th, are also, 1214 or 187. December 14th, 1214. And by the way, 41 in Super Bowl, we're having the second all-red Super Bowl. You see how red equals 54? Remember, the first all-red Super Bowl was Niners-Chiefs, Super Bowl 54. Super Bowl 58 is the 54th of the modern era. Red's got the 54. Remember, it's the Joe Montana Bowl again. Joe Montana, 54. Montana, 24, finished his career with the Chiefs. In Missouri, the 24th straight. It is 2024. Chiefs are trying to win the Super Bowl to get their 24th playoff win all time. 49ers. The reason I wrote only the letters for 49ers, ERS, you see the 15? That's a true way to decode, to not include numbers when they're in the sentence. So a big number at the 49ers, historically 15. Mahomes, number 15, up against the Niners again, trying to win his 15th playoff game himself. He's won 15 of the 23 for the Chiefs. And Joe Montana went back-to-back in Super Bowls 23 and 24. It's the 23-24 season. Again, we talked about all this stuff all year. But anyway, I was coming back to the Super Bowl thing. Super Bowl 41, Chiefs, Mahomes got his 41st road win yesterday. And look at who's dead, you know. A star football player in the world at age 41, dead the day of the conference championship games, wore red. And then what jumped out to me was his sponsor on his jersey, Banamex. Guessing that's a banana company, but I don't know. I'm guessing it's Bananas of Mexico. But Banamex, you know, 24, just right there. Boom. This is in the headlines today. He died yesterday, but it's the headlines all over on 129 today. Same stuff every year, right? Same stuff every year. Just such obvious sacrifice. The colors are there. The numbers are there. Football, right sport. It's just sick. He's also dead 60 days before his birthday, and Banamex is also 60. So there's that too. But yeah, here, I got to come back to this again. Just Peter Bergen, look at this. 48 days from his birthday, right? His birthday is December 12th, so that's the day leaving 19 days left in the year. He's making this remark about World War III could be on the horizon. 19 plus 29 is 48. Again, 114 days after the war began in Israel. 48 days after his birthday, he's on CNN talking about World War III because of the three troops. It's just World War I. Never forget, it ended on November 11th at supposedly the 11th hour of the day. So 11, 11, 11. Isn't that all just ones for the end of World War I? And isn't that exactly what was on Franz Ferdinand's license plate? 11, 11, 18. It ended in 2018 or 1918, excuse me. But Franz Ferdinand's license plate where he got assassinated was 11, 11, 18. And then the war ends on 11, 11, 18. You don't think they've been just running number rituals on us the whole time, the cabal? I mean, wake up. Been doing this since forever, but definitely since the 16th century when the Jesuits were implemented by this exact code in this exact way. But yeah, I was looking at Peter Bergen's bio and it said he's a professor at Arizona State University. And I just thought, you got to be kidding me. I wish he would have been there when I went to school there. I would have been in this guy's classroom every day calling him out. This guy's been making me sick since I was a student there. So anyway, I just had to look up what he teaches at ASU. And I was like, look at these classes. Terrorism and insurgency. You guys, this is why we got to stop the system. I felt like dropping out of college when 9/11 happened. And sometimes I wish I did. I mean, it worked out for me. I had scholarships and I got a good job out of school. I mean, I benefited from the system by playing the game. But what made me so sick is I had a English professor my freshman first semester at college, right when 9/11 happened, and she was from Portland, Oregon, like me. And at first her and I were getting along because we were the two people from Portland. Nobody else in the room was from Portland. And but then when 9/11 happened, I didn't have her class the next day. I didn't have her class the day of 9/11. It was a Tuesday. I still remember who my professor was. I had math class for Miss Apple Bloom. And she was so freaked out. She didn't think we should be there. She was all anxious, and she was talking about the latest rumors she just heard. If you weren't alive on 9/11, there was so much speculation that day about more attacks coming. Everybody felt like they were going to be a target. She'd heard that like 6 more airplanes had been hijacked at LA, and we were in Phoenix, or Tempe, really, but it's right next to Phoenix if you're not familiar with Arizona. She was just worried we could be a target. And anyhow, I had my English class either, like, I think it was the next day, Wednesday. But when we came into English and realized we'd only been like 2 weeks into the semester, but our English professor let us know that we had a whole new curriculum, a whole new syllabus. We were doing something entirely different now for the semester because of 9/11. She just boom on it. And what we were doing is we were studying all the nations of the Middle East and in the scope of the threat they pose to the U.S. And I got assigned Yemen to research Yemen. I still remember I was just like, to be perfectly honest, I didn't even know Yemen was a place until that day. But that's us Americans. We're very focused on the U.S. But I was just so annoyed because I was already from the moment that the news broke about 9/11. I wasn't fooled by it for a second. It just looked like a total load of bullshit, just like the election of George W. Bush looked like a total load of bullshit. And I expressed that I thought it was a joke that we were doing this. And I said, what? So we're just going with what, the authorities say and the news is saying, and just everyone's guilty already. And that's definitely what happened. And she didn't like that I was questioning anything. And after class, she held me in class and she said, I want you to meet me in my office later today. And I'm going to have you sign a behavior contract that you're not going to question me like that. Or go against what I'm saying. And I was just like, I was annoyed. I was like, behavior contract? I haven't had to do anything like this since I was in middle school. I used to always mouth off to my teachers, for the record. I've told you guys that a million times. It was always written on my report cards. Does not respect authority. Does not respect authority. And I was always damn proud of it. Because why should I? Why should I respect authority when I saw my whole life authorities were bullshitting me? In school. School was full of shit. And I knew that from a young age. Still did well at it, but I knew it was full of shit. I could circle C to get A on the test, but I knew that the answer was bullshit. And, to start college like this and just have like the biggest load of bullshit ever happen in my life and have a professor just like, oh, we're going to be so focused on this now. And this is what I was just like, this isn't what I want to spend my time doing. I don't want to write papers about the terrorist threat of Yemen. God. I want to write a paper about how I think our own federal government did this to us. That's the paper I want to write. So anyway, you can't do that though if you want to stay in class. You got to play the game, and I mean that's the problem. You can't be your own rebel because you can't take down the system as one individual. And you just see most people just want to play ball. They want to get through the grade or get through the class, get the grade, get the job, have the nice life, head down, tuck it in like a turtle. Worry about me and my family. I mean, that's almost everybody's mentality, and that's why we're all getting driven to the edge of the cliff together. Because we don't have a collective mindset about overcoming the cabal and the lies and the rituals. Nikki Haley, did you see her? Nikki Haley's talking all tough. We need to bomb all their targets in Tehran, blow it all up. And then somebody's like, well, don't you think that could instigate a larger war? She's like, I forget how she responds. She's like, it would just get rid of their resources. It's like, it would just get rid of their resources. Is that all it would just do? It wouldn't instigate a larger war? So we got 3 dead troops. How many thousand more troops do we need to just get rid of some of their resources? I get so sick of listening to these politician frauds talk. Hey, Nikki Haley, why don't you go parachute in there and take on Iran yourself? Come on, like all the Hollywood movies where we got these one-lady army women just taking on every incompetent man in the world. Send Nikki Haley in there. Let's see what she does. Can she take down Iran herself? I get so sick of just listening to these talking heads. Another guy talking tough, the guy who likes to get plugged in his anus. What's his name? Lindsey Graham. Send in Lindsey, the guy with the girl's name. Have Nikki Haley and Lindsey paratrooper into Iran, and let's see if they can take care of the business. God, who's going to miss them? Shoot them out of the sky. No loss to anybody. Not America, not no one. But, yeah, it's just, it gets sick just watching all this stuff go on. And, I don't even want to look at how many people are watching the live stream. There's probably like 10 people watching. Turn into Tim Pool. There's 100,000 watching, as Tim Pool gives his audience absolutely nothing other than the mainstream status quo. Tim Pool, who became famous supposedly from Occupy, which was about down with the system, is now Mr. Republican GOP. Isn't it funny just watching how things go? Donald Trump, who his whole life was a career Democrat, and until Obama became president. And then no longer was he best friends with Hillary and Bill. All of a sudden, he's running against them. What a show. Anyhow, all these things are connected, though, you guys. The rig games, the rig sports, 9/11 Patriot Act Patriots, Hurricane Katrina, the Saints winning their first Super Bowl over Archie Manning's son. Remember, it was like more than a week's coverage of Katrina and how it could wreck New Orleans. And then it did. Even though it first passed and didn't, but then it did later, like hours later in the middle of the night when the levees blew, like it was the Led Zeppelin song. When the levees break. Should go back and look and see how it was synced with Jimmy Page and oh my God, what's his name? I can't think of the damn name of the singer for Led Zeppelin right now. Oh my God, I must be having that United States of amnesia. But I can't believe I can't think of his name. Anyway, I was going to make the point also. The federal government said that they weren't prepared for a disaster in New Orleans. It's like, well, wait a minute. Like, the mainstream media has been covering it for the last week and a half how it could happen. Federal government's dumbfounded? It doesn't make any sense. What was his name? What was his name? Like, heck of a job, Brownie. That's what Bush said. His name was something Brown was the head of FEMA, and, I wasn't there, so I don't know. There's rumors that they sent in Blackwater, the private military force, and they were literally shooting people in New Orleans. I don't know if that's true or not. I've heard a lot of people say that happened there. That wasn't something the mainstream media covered. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if it did. But, yeah, just to watch all these things just go down and people, how can you have any faith in your government? Your government's not here for you. Did you see what they did to New Orleans? Your city could be next. To act like they weren't ready, and then Bush said that the leader of FEMA was doing a heck of a job when he wasn't doing any job. It's like, wait a minute, the whole nation was prepared for this, man. Everybody has cable news. But yeah, I just hate how every time the war machine starts up, you got nothing but these British talking people on CNN, and America can't still see that they never got free. Come on, man. On 7-4, right? Free, 74. London, 74. English. Why are we speaking English? The majority of the people wanted to speak German at the start of the nation. Why aren't we speaking German? Always got to make you think Germany's so bad. Holiday, 74. Independence Day, 74. 3 of the first 5 presidents dead on 7-4. Must be a coincidence. Funny that the 2 that died together, Jefferson and Adams, on the same day in 1826, are both worried about what would happen if the Jesuits came out of suppression. Then they came out of suppression 144 days after James Madison's birthday, who a lot of people think was an agent. Only president with the 201 name as well was James Madison, the father of the Constitution that George W. Bush told you wasn't nothing but a piece of paper. And obviously that's true, because I don't feel like we've ever had the rights that are on there. I've been, it's just, you can hardly bear arms. You can hardly have free speech anywhere for all of our life. You never had that, like in the classroom. You don't have it at the workplace. Nobody really respects it. Talk is cheap. This nation's all talk. Well, it's not all talk. It's also all war. It's all war machine for the New World Order, like Manly P. Hall wrote about. The real destiny of America was to bring about the one world order. He said it was founded by the Order of the Phoenix. He said that was the real secret society running everything at the beginning. You know, it's funny. I found a YouTube channel that I really like. He has such great research on the Jesuits, and I was like on the 20th video of his, and then I was just so shocked. In like the 20th video I was watching, he just went after Manly P. Hall and how evil Manly P. Hall was, and how Manly P. Hall definitely wants this one world order. And I've always talked about that, how Manly P. Hall does seem to write favorably about this idea of a one world order, but he writes about it in a different way, because he writes about how to be a world united in truth, justice, knowledge. And it's like, I don't know if he believed that it was going to be this and something great. And he was, don't forget, Manly P. Hall died 201 days from his birthday too. Made an honorary degree, or honorary 33rd degree Freemason 47 years after, I think, the publishing of his first book. But yeah, I was just blown away by how much this guy went after Manly P. Hall. And I was like, it's kind of ironic, because if you look into what Manly P. Hall taught about and you research the things he shared, you can figure out what's really going on in the world. So I'm no Manly P. Hall hater. And the guy who I'm talking about, he's very Christian. He's a devout Christian as well. And Manly P. Hall was I believe Manly P. Hall was spiritual, but he wasn't religious. So, you know, a lot of Christians, if you're not in their camp, they'll go after you. But anyway, like I always say, you know, take the good, spit out the bad. So I almost feel like I so desperately want to go on a road trip right now. It's not working out with Sweet Lady. The support hasn't come through from the community to give me the argument over here. But man, I would love to do an LA, Phoenix, Vegas road trip, now realizing that Peter Bergen works at ASU. I'd like to go make a scene at ASU. Drop the knowledge. They need a Gematria class. Look at these classes. God, future of war, terrorism and insurgency. I can't believe this. It was like, how ironic is my life? This is where I was when 9/11 happened. I hated this guy from day one. Now he's a professor there teaching this. God. Ah. What was the one other thing I wanted to say that I'm forgetting? There was one other thing I was supposed to say. I can't remember what it is right now. Yeah, with Peter Bergen being British, again, don't forget, before Israel was Israel, it was under British occupation in the time of the World Wars. It's been their show. The sun never sets on Britain. Think about that phrase. The sun, the Jesuit logo. Britain, a long history at the Catholic Church. You know. Shout out to Rick James for gifting a membership. Appreciate it, Rick. Whatever I was going to talk about, it'll come to me. We'll do another stream later. It's slipping my mind. I gotta jump on Patreon. We got the Patreon live stream starting right now. Thank you to everyone who supports the Patreon. We're streaming there Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern. And links in the description if you want to support. Until next time, everybody.